2 more.
Okay.
Let me just, yeah.
Are we doing 2 more?
Okay.
We do.
Allow mistakes to Allow mistakes to peacefully inform your growth and learning process. Ooh. And that's clarity and connection. And it's
Pueblo.
thank you.
No, this is me guessing that's his surname. Like, guys, I really
It was
don't
an
know.
Instagram feed. Because it was his real name.
And a book, yes.
So clarity and connection.
I don't know. I think that we are moving into a season of clarity and forming deeper connections. So this, for me, the allowing your mistakes, I don't know. We are too hard on ourselves as people. We are way too hard on ourselves. We make a mistake and we go into a spiral. We do something that at that time we think is good, but turns out, wow.
And you know better.
Listen, and that's the thing, you didn't know better.
Yes.
Why is it that it's so difficult to be okay with making the mistake? Why is it so difficult to accept that, okay, it is what it is, hey? I feel like it's a slogan now, it is what it is. But why
My brother
is
always
it
says this whenever I say it is what it is. It is never
what it is?
You know? Like, it's always like, every time I'm like, hey, but you know, I'm complaining, I'm like, hey, but it is what it is. It's like, It is never what it is. It is your perspective of the situation. You don't know the other person's perspective. You don't know what else played around. So it can never be what it is. But yeah.
I don't know why you had to correct me. It wasn't even a correction, it was a rebuking. That was a rebuking, or why did we have to?
It never is what it is.
Okay, it is what it is.
It's in line with what we're saying, though. It's like allowing your mistakes. It's because in that moment you said it is what it is. But really, it was never what it is.
That's true.
You know? And that's when you come to your senses and your awareness and being like, this was a mistake because it can't be what it is.
Yes.
It was, you know, and therefore I need to grow from this. I need to do better. So it's the self-awareness that comes in. I think you spoke about it earlier, where you're like being self-aware and knowing yourself better and knowing where you want to go.
Yeah.
Therefore clarifies the path, the growth process, and then you allow your mistakes to teach you. Because what is it? Ultimately, a mistake is something. What is a mistake? Like
it's a setup to.
You thought it was right. Until sometimes you think you never know it's a mistake. Like, you know how it's like,
until you feel the consequences.
The consequences of it. You think it was a good decision because you'd be like, "Hey, I love him. Why do I keep making relationships?"
Guys, clearly this is the season we're all in here.
No,
relationships are the best mirrors. So
they're true, but friendships are also a fantastic mirror.
All relationships.
So like sometimes you're like, let's use you borrow somebody money. And in that moment, it feels like a good idea. And then you're like, hey, I shouldn't have. That was a mistake, you know? And then you learn from that. You learn with the, don't do it. Don't do it.
Not necessarily a don't thing. But I mean, this goes back to knowing your circle and understanding how people function with money. So if you don't know who, especially if you're borrowing money, that's a tricky one. If I say I'm gonna go borrow CeeLo money, and I know CeeLo is out here popping them bottles and doing this, and every month now it's becoming a habit of us here living our best lives, and soft life forever. God, wow. When I want my money back, it's like, yo,
yeah.
do I borrow you that? when you're reckless with money, you have to know yourself. You have to know who you're borrowing that money to. And you have to be then comfortable. I think we digressed. But we have to be comfortable.
So we digressed, let's catch ourselves and go back.
You have to be comfortable with understanding the dynamics of that relationship. How is this person with money? How is this person with this? How is this person with that? So that, yes, I've borrowed you money and I never see it again. Am I going to repeat it again? No. I'm going to graciously not do that again. You're not going down that road again, because now it's going to be So now that fosters the growth and the learning.
Where have you allowed yourself, like your mistakes, to foster your growth?
Yo, babes.
Like, do you have one where you feel like you can share?
Listen, I think I've been making a lot of mistakes, and I don't know if it's because of the new season that I'm entering into. I won't share a specific thing, but it will be
Let me share mine.
Okay.
So, how have I allowed my mistakes to peacefully inform my growth and learning process? I have two examples. I have I could speak on three, but ultimately they all have the same element to them. So, one for me has been the evaluation of my companions, be it friendship and being family, seeing my patterns, like really seeing my patterns. That's a nasty part. Like really seeing my patterns, especially when it
That's
comes
not nice.
especially like when it comes to relationships.
Yeah.
And therefore editing that element, you know. Ultimately, how I've allowed myself is just knowing that one of my biggest let down in relationships is that I hold my tongue quite often, and it's not like my character. I don't know why it comes up when I'm in a relationship. This tongue holding
Really?
business that I don't understand, and it's not even like a yabba business because it's like, and you know, if I speak on, it's like thinking for the next person. It's like I don't want to hurt Kamo by being brutally honest in this situation because I can see it's going to become a fight, and therefore I just choose to refrain, you know. And one of the ways that I'm practicing is speaking on my emotions, especially the not so good emotions, and being like, yo, I can't, especially I'm a time person. So like when someone is late and they do not communicate they were going to be late when they're running late, I would bite my tongue and just suck it all up, and then it becomes a habit in the relationship, and then it like affects the longevity of it all.
Yeah.
And then now it's like, yo, if you say you're going to call at 6, you better call at 6. If you call me later than 6 without having explained yourself, I'm not having a phone call conversation with you. It's like, done deal. You know, like, you will know so that you don't do it again. And I'm learning to practice setting those boundaries quite early and speaking on those things quite early so that they don't go into a relationship. And another thing is, can I share this? Because it's an us thing.
Now that I'm here, yes, you can share.
It's an us thing. You know, like one of the things I'm learning to practice is that people can only meet you where they live. Like, well, OT, you know that. Like, a person can only ever meet you at the level that they're at.
Yeah.
And
OT.
and people come in fragments and not as wholes.
Yeah.
You know? And when you understand those elements and you understand that we are all wired differently, and what could be my common sense or your common sense is ultimately not our friendship common sense, because I don't know I know her fragments and she knows my fragments, and I don't know the other parts and she doesn't know the other parts, which then when we argue we argue out of those
we don't see the whole picture. We only see the parts that we thought we knew.
And then you're like, but then.
Yeah.
So like one of my mistakes is judging a person on face value and what they choose to present.
Yeah.
And I am now allowing myself to say, there's always more to the picture, which is what my brother is saying. And he said, it's never what it is.
It is. It never is what it is.
Allowing myself not to get caught up in a situation. I wanted to say a moment.
Yeah.
But it's ultimately a situation, because in that moment, I might feel there might be driving factors to how I responded or reacted, and they might be driving to what the next person responds or reacts. But ultimately, there's always a bigger picture, and not judging a situation of a situation, like not judging the entire friendship over a situation, and allowing myself to let people be. That's like allow the next person to be. That is part of my growth. Because one thing I want to be allowed to be me in whatever fragmented form I come in that moment. That's the only way we ever get to see the whole, to experience the whole. And that's the mistake I've made in the past, on still learning not to make, is judging a person out of their current situation, or out of a moment, or out of a hearsay. Because that's another thing, like, you know, people can say things and then you're like, yeah, I'm gonna get on child of it. You know, and you're like, actually, I don't know this person, but like all of a sudden I feel so driven into believing that this is who you are, and I don't know you. So like, growth is for me accepting that people come in fragments, and not as whole, and understanding that I cannot always judge a situation or an element based on that fragmented part. Because the next time I meet the person, they've grown so much. They've grown so much. It's a different piece of the pie, you know, and that's the beauty of it, you know. Putting the pieces together.
I think that like one of the mistakes that I can talk about is moving away from relationship. I feel like you covered exactly from relationship. But I know I made a decision, especially about my organization at a point, to register it under an NPO. I think for me at that time, I had the vision of it going there, but then you know how we did the whole swap and everything, and I took a 5-month break. And I was like, I'm just not feeling and understanding where that vision of it being an NPO was coming from. So I had to pause and really go back to my prayers. Because I remember when I prayed for it, the one thing that I wanted to do was for it to tell stories that will heal, tell stories that will show how women can be so multifaceted, so multidimensional, like to really empower the woman, the girl child in Africa. So now, recently I've been looking at it, I'm like, girl, where are we journeying to? Because there's so many different things I was touching. Like I literally put my hands in so many different things, and I realized that, okay, you need to pause, you need to go back to the identity of this baby, and you need to understand where it was, where you lost it, and where you are now regaining the plot. And I think that right now, that's where I am moving towards. I think that fostered so much growth, not only in the organization, but in me as well, because I am an overthinker. And if I think about something, I want to do it in that moment, and I don't pay attention to, is this in the good, in the what is it, in the right standing of the vision of the organization. So I end up doing so many things, and then it loses its credibility? Not even credibility. It loses its identity. I try to assume. So I think that's where now the looking at the Instagram post of what other things people are doing out there, it becomes okay, you need to stop. You need to stop taking that on. You need to actually pause.
And calm down.
Pause, yes, you've made that mistake, but now let's grow from it. Let's now rewrite it. Because I think we think things are set in stone. why we think that, I don't understand. Things are never set in stone. If you have the power to change it, change it. Change it. So there's nothing, literally, there's nothing stopping you. What's stopping you except for fear? Change it. So I had to get to a point of, okay, you know what? This is in my hands. Although I like posting we. I am the we. But this is in my hands. Let me change it.
Yes.
It's never I can't move because now here I am. I promised everybody. This is not about everybody. This is not about everybody. The dream and the vision and what you've prayed for, what you want to accomplish is this. Is it doing that? No. Then what do? You change. You adapt. You adapted or die. By the way, I jumped on die. Don't die. Don't die.
Internally you will.
Yeah. Thank you.
Internally you will.
Basically.
Yes.
All right. Okay.
Last one. Make it a good one. Make it a good one.
Yo, I must make it a good one.
Yeah, basic.
Ish. Okay, because I feel like we've touched so much on this.
You can read it out and then we'll just pick another one.
Okay, I'm gonna read it out. It says, "How can I be so cruel to myself when I'm doing the best I can? Be gentle." Basically, know that. I think that's a nice quote to just have in mind. Just be gentle with yourself. But let's read another one because
we've touched on it. So
yeah, we've touched on it in many different ways. Forgive yourself for what you did in survival mode. What's survival mode?
Basically, wait, what is this thing? Yo, guys, all of my lessons are going out of my head. Like, I see this girl. You know your basic needs. What is it called? That hierarchy?
Of self-altruism.
Yes.
Yes, I just don't remember what the name was.
Because I know at the top is self-altruism.
Yes. Actualization.
Yo, I'm a altruism.
Is altruism even a word?
Yeah, but I'm just like, that's not the one. Self-actualization. But at the bottom is your basic needs. Your needs for shelter, your need for food, your need for... Yeah, your basic needs, basically. If I had my phone, I would Google this. To like survive anything, I fear survival mode is when you are ensuring these needs are met.
Yeah. Okay.
You know?
Alright.
It's shelter, food, bar, And I think in sort of like in a modern day life, sorry guys, there's something in my eye. But in the modern day life sense, survival mode is basically surviving your 9 to 5.
Yeah.
You know, ensuring you have a 9 to 5, paying the bills.
Would it be like you are just
Emotion.
what is it? Sleepwalking. Sleepwalking through life.
Guys, I'm so depressed just talking about this. Let's do that one. Guys, there's a lot of things. The thing is, I just feel like we do so much in survival mode that it's very rare we allow ourselves to step out of survival mode. Like you're saying, fear. We're so driven by survival mode. Everything is done by surviving. I need to survive the next month. I need to survive the next week. I need to survive the...
Oprah once, and I love this podcast, guys. If you would listen to Super Soul, but there was a podcast on whispers of life, right? Is it whispers? Yes. She says that life will always give you whispers to what you need to be doing, and often we neglect listening to those whispers because we have become so accustomed to sleepwalking through life. We have grown so comfortable with, okay, this is my life. I wake up, I brush my teeth, and my body. I can just go to work and do work, come back, and that's it. And we miss the little whispers in life that are telling us, hey, do this rather, or speak to this person, or reach out here, or grow your plants, or do something that will grow you. So now we sleepwalk through it, and we ignore those whispers until we get pebbles thrown at you. I don't know if you've ever picked up a stone and then you throw it and then it causes a ripple effect, especially on water, it causes that ripple effect. That's what happens. Then you get pebbles being thrown, trying to warn you that, hey, you're about to hit a brick wall, wake up, this is what you're supposed to be doing, this is the next step of your life, until we hit that brick wall and then we have a mental breakdown because all we were doing was sleepwalking through it and we were surviving. We were just doing what we can. And we're not on this life, on this world to survive. We're not in this world to survive. We're in this world to thrive, to actualize, basically, to self-actualize, to understand our God-given purpose. And when we live a life that is not fostering that God-given purpose, we end up going to a place where we aren't actually supposed to be in. But life will consistently and continuously be speaking to you to move, to always progress, to always step into your next path or your next journey or to do something different. But it takes a moment of actually knowing who you are and whose you are to understand where you need to be going. I think we neglect that time with ourselves, that time we spend with God, that reconnection, that silence, that moment of stillness and silence to actually hear. I think that's why I love nature, because it allows me that space to just sit and listen. And listen to and unpack all the wires that I've created in my mind by thinking about this and this and this, and I need to present like this and this and this, and I need to be this and this and this. That's not us. That's literally the survival mode. From what I'm getting from this, that's literally a survival mode. We are trying to grasp at so many things, whereas in essence we are losing so many things as well. We're losing the truth of who we are, the essence of our inner being. So we need to get to a place where we pause and forgive ourselves for that. Because here we are, you'll be faced with a brick wall. What do you do? Yes, you have your mental breakdown, you cry, you see a therapist. I'm for seeing a therapist, but try to see a therapist before you get to that mental breakdown as well. So when you are there, hey, it is fire, because now you have to unpack everything. But allow yourself the grace to be like, okay, you know what? I was doing my best then, and I wasn't listening to what life was trying to tell me. But let's move gently. I think that's why the previous one was be gentle with yourself. Be very gentle with yourself. Basically, I don't have anything else to say after that.
It's like it's so much, because you're speaking. I'm just thinking about like, I don't know, not everybody might agree with me on this, and that's okay. Is that
I feel like it's gonna be controversial, yeah. Yes.
We also so stuck on believing, I don't know where this belief comes from, that thriving is being rich on a money level. And
why?
It's this capitalist mentality, and also it then, like, you lose so much when you're so focused on grinding.
Yeah.
You lose time on friendships, and nobody ever talks about what kind of person you need to be this billionaire, to be this millionaire, to be this person, you know? And I remember my friend once said, sometimes often people work towards attaining the money, and then only when they have the money do they come back and be like, oh, okay, now I can spend my time with God, now I can actually work on, because when you get there, you realize this is not it. Once you've attained it, this is not it. And the need to earn more, to get more is survival mode as well.
Yes.
And I think when it says forgive yourself with all the things you did in survival mode, forgive yourself for all the things you did in the name of getting rich,
Yeah.
in the name of I need more, in the name of comparisons,
Yeah.
in the name of, forgive yourself for those things and be like, I'm no longer on edge.
Yeah. Like it's okay. It's really
Yeah.
okay. I think that let go of the standards. Let go of.
And like you said, when you really take time to come to God,
Yeah.
or a higher power, and you connecting with the inner God, you really get to hear the whispers. You really get to hear the direction. And the beauty of it is when you actually follow what is implanted in you, you will thrive even on a financial sense. But it shouldn't be the main goal.
It shouldn't. That's the thing. Like we should. Our focus should not be on attaining assets or attaining status. On attaining status or on attaining influential power. I don't know, whatever power. It should be on.
Seek first the things of the kingdom.
Yes.
And all else will be given to you.
Yes, and the things of the kingdom are kindness, are gentleness, are pure of heart, are love, are, they are so pure that we miss them in day-to-day life because we want, hi man, we have to be doing this. Now you have to do that. No.
And I don't know why, but this just popped up, and because we're speaking on edge, you had this post. I actually didn't read it, but I remember seeing it, and I was just like, "That's so true. That's so true."
Yeah.
Like when you have the phone and you're not really on the phone, you just see it, and you're like, acknowledge it, yes. And it was therapy and Jesus.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I don't know what she said or how, but those two elements are a fire combination.
So
faith and therapy.
yeah. So what did it say? I think it was Jackie who posted it. Jackie Hill Perry. She was just talking about how how Jesus has made her whole, but therapy has made her aware. And a lot of people neglect therapy or speak against therapy, saying that Jesus will make me whole, I'll be fine, I'll be this, but we are not living in the awareness of our habits, of what we have placed ourselves or conditioned ourselves to existing. So she's like, we need to understand that these two work hand in hand, not work hand in, how do I say it? I mean, Jesus is the ultimate of, however, having a human experience requires some help. It requires the therapeutical intervention. How do I say it? It requires that therapeutic intervention.
And I think it sounded so well. I read it on Instagram feeds. It said, if you want God to do the supernatural, you need to do the natural.
Yeah.
And therapy does the natural.
Yeah.
And then God brings up the super.
Yeah.
It's just when you have worked through your trauma, when you're working through your traumas and you're working through your triggers and you're working through whatever it is that you are there in therapy for, you are basically
and you don't always have to be traumatized to go to therapy.
Yeah, you're breaking the chains.
Yes.
And you're surrendering. But to surrender, you need to surrender to like an ultimate being. You can't just surrender to anybody, And when you surrender to a higher power, because therapy allows you to let go of this need for control and you surrender. But when you come to surrendering, you can't surrender to your therapist. You can't surrender, because that creates another attachment. So when you surrender to a higher power and allow therapy to work, it becomes amazing. Because people can neglect the faith part when you do therapy, and it's all good and well, but even when you get to the other end, you're like, something's still missing, and that's, it brings it together. And I was gonna close. Let's read this random one just so we know. You're pretty defensive when someone suggests that you rest. Don't be defensive.
Guys, okay, I'm gonna quickly just touch on this one. Sorry, like, this was written by Bruno. Guys, I don't know if it's a black thing, but we don't like resting. We don't like resting. I don't know if it's a black thing or it's a, I don't know, societal thing, but we don't like resting. We always have to be on the move.
Survival mode.
Yo, no, why you don't be defensive? Rest.
Even Jesus rested.
Rest.
Even God rested.
Listen, God created Sundays.
Was it Sunday?
Wasn't that the day he rested? Yeah.
Was it not today?
Oh, jeez, okay, we're gonna edit this part. We're not doing that. That is a lot. Alright, whatever day he created, he rested. God on the seventh day rested. Rested. So I think that we need to, it also ties into the whole we like suffering. We don't like resting. We just don't. We need to find a moment where we rest. And resting means we rest in our minds as well. Because we can sit down and still be busy up here. We need to lay it all down and just rest and be okay and re-energize ourselves. But we can't be wanting to always be on. We'll be depleted, and this body is made to carry us. So if we are straining this body, it will not carry us to our fullest potential and purpose. So we need to allow rest in. We need to accept that there is such a thing, phenomenon as rest. Please, one from him.
You know, she's just titled also gently, but I feel like we don't let that be my closure. And as always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And thank you, Kamo, for like the wonderful conversation. And let us know what are you on edge about? What are you on edge about? What's happening? How are you coming back into yourself? Yeah, have the conversation. Join the conversation. Bye, guys.